lonely hearts, troubled minds, looking for a way that we can never find. Many roads are ahead of us, with choices to be made.
Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais, founder and owner of the syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. We're in our 19th year, which I'm shocked that we're in our 19th year. Anyway, if you're tuning in for the first time, we're a Boston-based, internet, fully operating radio station. And what that means is we do pre-records, we do live shows, we do live videos, we have voiceovers, we do audio books, anything and everything around audio. We do that. So check us out. It's Dream Visions, all one word with an S on the end, the number 7, radio.com. You'll see all our glorious hosts, as I say, each one unique, each one making a difference in their way. Many of them have different modalities. Some of them are medical doctors, others are lawyers. We have all kinds of different people that are awakened and still working on earth like you would if you were not awakened. Anyway, we are in our 4th part of a series that I put together because Cheryl Bradley, spirit medium and teacher, wrote this book, and I was just enthralled with it, with the thought that how many people could be helped by reading this book. It touches on things that normally we don't read about, and it gives us some ideas and some thoughts and some facts on what it's like to be on the afterlife and or in the afterlife, in the light, and how that all starts and how it is. Because we're all going in the same direction. So Cheryl is, if you're not familiar, she is a vessel for spirits. She receives and delivers messages uniquely meant to each client, fostering a safe, nurturing environment for healing and growth. She encourages and teaches those she works with to trust their intuition, embracing what feels light and right for them. Cheryl shares her expansive spiritual knowledge and passion, empowering others to connect with their higher selves and enhance their intuitive abilities through group sessions, workshops, and spiritual coaching. She has a master's in education, and I think that's why she loves to teach. And that's the other piece. She does readings, but she's teaching us, and that is really, I find, exciting. So today, we are going to be talking about her book, naturally, A Spirit's Journey, Discover Your Soul's Purpose and the Light That Guides You on Your Path. And part 4 is Returning Home, the Soul Sacred Transition. And if you missed the first 3, you'll find them right on our Dream Vision 7 site, and you just click on Love by Intuition, and they'll all come up. Don't miss, and then we'll get to show, don't miss tomorrow night, which is Wednesday, July 1st, same time, 6 p.m., for our final 5th part of this amazing series. And I thank you so much, Cheryl, for taking the time of bringing all this knowledge to the airwaves.
Thank you, Deborah. I can't thank you enough for just opening that door for all those hearts that really are curious and are open to that. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to open that door and doing this together, because that's just how we work, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
Yes, that's how we work. So let's get started. Did you have anything that you wanted to share up front from last, or even give a little bit of this is where we left off and here we are now?
Yeah, sure. Let's start from page 1 of A Spirit's Journey and just in terms of parts and themes. So I wrote this book. It has a spiritual narrative. And I truly, and again, you said I do have a master's in education, and so I wrote the book with that education background and with that knowledge of how to organize, and with spirit 100%. And so I wrote this book as almost a foundation for us to lean into our story, and I want to put that on a big spiritual soapbox. This is not my story, this is our story. But how it unfolds and how we read it is very individual and it's very unique, because we are so unique in our journeys. So when I put together this book, I put it together in that spiritual narrative language almost. That this is my story, and let me give you some examples of what this means using my many readings I've done, or even my spiritual process. And so when you read this book, you get what you need. And you won't get every page, because, again, it's written in my words, right? And I always say, don't, myself included, don't ever just accept words that are given to you, but claim them in your heart. Because you might need to change the words. Maybe you're not ready for that aspect quite yet. Maybe there's a growth that needs to come, or maybe that just is not something that is you're curious about. And I say, go at your own speed, go at your own place. Part 1 starts on the other side, where I talk about the other side and what my experiences are on the other side, and that is a very unique experience too when you do get into the read. Part 2 is more of what we all collectively do, but all in such a different format. It is when we choose, we've made that choice that we will be incarnating, and all of many purposeful decisions that we make, and they're all beautifully purposeful. And you will be really, I hear from so many of my readers and listeners that was really eye-opening. Like, I never looked at it in that frame or that reference. And I say, if your intent is there and your heart is open, you will get your own downloads. You will get your own messages, because your heart has all these answers. And then in part 3, once we've made all those purposeful decisions and we've made that in such fervor, like not fervor as in rush, but so much thought goes in. We don't just plop here. We make so many beautiful, beautiful decisions. And then part 3, which we talked about last time, was the human experience and how karma really comes in, and how karma looks when we're in the human journey versus on part 2, and we just know that we will encounter it. It's a very different spiritual lens when you're reading the book, because this human experience includes Earth, and Earth is all emotional, and that's where it's game on. That is when we are really working at maneuvering and balancing, and the reason why we're together, Deborah, is to open that message for everyone, that we are not alone, that our human experience, our ego, is not primary. It is in our walk, but we have so much light to lean on. And that leads us into today in part 4, in that returning home, which I wrote for comfort, for understanding the trueness of the light. And I've heard from so many readers that gave me such comfort. I heard from someone the other day that I did a reading for, and she goes, Cheryl, when I read that, I used to be afraid of, I'll use the human word death. I don't use that word in the book, because death is final, and returning home is not. It is just the continuation of energy. And she's like, and I'm not afraid anymore. Like, my heart really took that in. And she's a work in progress. She's she's not a practicing medium, and I've been doing this for 19 years, like your beautiful self, Deborah. She really is working at the day to day, and she's like, that gave me peace, because I say your heart has all your answers.
Right. So, one of the things that I realized is through reading the book is that it's our soul that has the choice to depart and transition. I didn't realize that it was fully our choice. I thought there were guides and maybe gods, not the God, the highest one, but really sacred beings that would be helping. But in essence, we're making that choice to depart ourselves.
And just to follow up on that a little bit, when I talk about the book, and I do go into that as a main vein, but I have to say too, explore, because we do connect with loved ones and spirit guides and higher elders to work at how I will return home too. So when I say that, I'm like, there's no rules, there's no hard and soft lines. I will always say too, when I bring that up in a reading, I say I will speak this through my spiritual perspective, because people have their own strong beliefs, and I say there's no judgment. You take what you need and leave the rest. But it is our soul's decision to depart, and the main support to that is God gave us free will, and that free will is something that we take in every realm, in every dimension, and at every spiritual and lighted turn. But our loved ones, our elders, we're all working together for that efficiency, for that ascension of our souls. So I wouldn't say that I would absolutely exclude that. I really, when I mention that, when I name that, I say that it's not God that calls us home. He just welcomes us with his beautiful arms and welcoming light. But we do choose that because we have free will, because we are working on this journey, and we are responsible for that journey.
Yeah, and each time we come, is my understanding, each time we come and we learn our lessons and we go back, we're getting closer to God because of all the learning and experiencing and growing our souls. Exactly. And that's the objective, right? Is to get as close to God as we can. But
right,
God
to perfect
you. Within us too, because
he is within us. Yeah. Your heart is singing a beautiful tune, Deborah. Absolutely beautiful. God is inside all of us, or source, or divine, or whoever. Some people have different names for that, or just source. And whatever your belief system is, you can feel that, and that source is part of you.
Right. And one of the other things that come to mind is, and I'd like to hear what you would like to share, is that it has been said that when we do transition to the other side, if we are, if we love Jesus, we will see Jesus. If we feel very connected with Buddha, we will see, or someone else that is extremely wise and that we have carried them to our earth life, we may see them as well. Is that true? And each person has their own way of understanding, so the way it's presented on the other side is for that person to understand versus another one that may be another human coming from a different perspective or a different belief system.
You have such a beautiful ripple of light. There is no cookie cutter answer. You're naming it. You're naming it in such a beautiful way. Correct. It could be a loved one. It could be Jesus. It could be Buddha. Whatever we need in our light, we create. We call. It comes to us. It is the universal lighted language. So yes. There is no no's. it is whatever the light calls for you in your heart. It becomes, and very often when we do transition, when seeing the light or seeing a tunnel or seeing our loved ones and our loved ones bringing us to the other side, that is all absolutely in the lightest scenario. Is it the only? Absolutely not. There's infinite numbers, and that was what was very. I had to really work at keeping foundational pieces of spirit in the book, because I could just go on in tangents so deeply. But what you're experiencing is what a reader, I say, great for that reader, because they're like, okay, yes, but I think I see Buddha. I feel like I would see Buddha. I believe in Buddha. Buddha is my source. Yes. Listen to what your heart tells you as you read. And follow that up. Does that feel light? And if it does, then you have your own answers. This book is really just almost a spiritual reference, but it's a springboard. It's a trampoline. Go where you're called. Go what calls to you. Keep opening the book, because every time you open the book, you get another aspect or a download or more understanding of your journey, of your beautiful and spiritual, unique journey.
And as you have said in the book that, and I like to say this, and I probably have said it each time that we've been together, for the listeners, this is not just a book about the afterlife. It is not just a book about spiritual awakening. It is a gentle welcome to remember. And I just love that, because many people are coming to find that when we do come on earth, we have all the light and all the glow and the wisdom, and it's specifically designed so that we forget all that, and that's before we live on earth, and with the dark and the light and the heavy and the experience that, but it grows our souls. Even the most heaviest grows our souls, and the other piece of it too, and I'm speaking of everyone, because everyone has had people in their families that they're very close to, and now they're on the other side. But with time, and it takes time, you find yourself feeling ingratitude because of the time that you have been together. And whether it's a short time, a few years, 17 years, 20, whatever it is, that's a time of growth there with the person, whether they're an aunt or a husband or a child or whoever, or even
a pet.
Yeah,
a pet.
Yes,
a pet.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah,
so
and it's beautiful. That's a beautiful way of placing that too, Deborah. But I have to say too, not everyone can move to the gratitude piece because of the suffering that losing a loved one in this earth's plane creates. And that's not with judgment or fault or right or wrong. It is just with the existence of this human journey. But when you can open to the light, and that's not with any force, that's not with any arrogance of spiritual arrogance that you must. No, that is our journey to hopefully move towards that space, because that's where we'll find our peace. And that was the realm of my writing this part for in the way that I did, to encourage your heart to open to the love. In the lighted aspect, your spiritual, I say put your spiritual lenses on when you read this, because our human journey can't find this, right? How can you find suffering, Cheryl? How does that any part of our journey? Why would my son or my daughter or my father choose to go that way? I don't understand that, Cheryl, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And I honor that. I say you're right, and you're perfect right in that space that you're at. But if you choose to open your heart a little bit more, there's comfort to be found. But that is part of the journey, and then there's no have tos. And I always say, give yourself grace in your journey. Give yourself grace.
Right, right. And yes, I'm thinking of all the things I want to get into, because I think it's important for people to know that there are checkpoints when you're transitioning to the other side. There are actually checkpoints on the earth. Could you talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. And
what that actually means for the...
Yes. And I will say, too, when you're trying to define and discuss the spiritual journey, sometimes you need to use human words or human metaphorical pieces to illustrate it. And a checkpoint is just that. So keep your heart, I always say, keep your heart open and take what you need when I explain what I do. But again, don't take my words, claim them in your heart. So when we choose to incarnate, and this is done on part 2 of the book, we make many choices. And we know, not soup to nuts or not concretely, what our path should look like. Sometimes our complete lifetime in this single incarnation in the book is one single lifetime, and we've been here many times. We might choose to be on this earth plane for a day. We might a month, 20 years, 30 years, 80 years, 100 years. That might be our blueprint, our soul's journey, whatever word speaks to you. But within that, we put what's called checkpoints, and again, that's metaphorical. There's no written words, so keep your heart open to that. But we put checkpoints in our journey for reasons, and those checkpoints, and generally there's 5, but again, there's no rules. We can put as little or as many as we want. It's always our choice. We can change them and adapt them. Nothing is set in stone in spirit, ever. And so we choose checkpoints to say, okay, if I get to this place and I've learned what I needed to learn, I will move back home. And so we integrally place those within our journey, and then we have what's called a death date. And the death date, just for reasons of illustration, is a date we don't go past. But our free will can dust and move that anytime we want. And so that death date is what we generally, that is what we established before we came into this earth plane. Because remember, we've been here many times. And so people say, well, why do I put a checkpoint in? I don't understand that. And let me just give you a quick little illustration. I'll give you 2. In this lifetime, and we know our lifetimes in full clarity in part 2 on the other side. When we get into the human journey, it's cloudy, right? Because we have that human journey. But on part 2, when we're on the other side, there's no cloudiness. It is complete clarity. And so in that clarity, I build an alliance that says, okay, my daughter is going to come to me, and she's going to choose to end her journey at 20 years old. And devastating, right? Devastating from the human journey. So if I am in a place with my karmic load and my pieces that I'm not sure I will be able to be efficient in my lifetime once my daughter decides to go home, because I know how difficult that will be. Maybe we even had a prior lifetime together, which makes that connection even deeper. And so I say at this age, if I'm not progressing in my soul's journey, and again, you must think about it in terms of your human lenses. Your spiritual lenses, not your human lenses. Your spiritual lenses, which is generally unbeknownst to the human journey. I will say, I will choose to go home, because what we don't want in our soul's journey is to add more karmic residue, more karmic aspect. Because if we choose to come back in again, we have to put that coat on, and we don't want that layer to increase. So that's one reason. Another example, when I say plenitude of examples, is maybe I was not very efficient in my addictions in a prior lifetime. And I know that karmic code comes back on. I know I'm going to be facing that again in this lifetime. And so I will say, okay, if I'm not progressing at this age or at this place in my space, my journey, I'm going to choose to go home because I don't want to add more karmic aspect. Or if I'm not making my life or life around me better, it is not. I really want to make this a big focal point. It is metaphorical. It is not. Checkpoints are not like literally like we see checkpoints. It is just a place that our soul says, okay, I know that this time in my life will be a challenge, or I know this karmic aspect will be very deep at this point in my life, and I will have that choice to go home spiritually. Never, never, never in our human journey do we ever really get that eyesight of it. And so I had a person that came into me not too long ago, and they said, Cheryl, I think I'm at a checkpoint. I think I'm nervous. I don't want to go home. And I looked, of course, I opened to spirit, and I said, you don't have the power to do that. Your human journey has no power in that. You cannot make that happen. Certainly, if you choose to end your human life, that's another topic. But in your spiritual journey, that is nothing that you are generally aware of or have any ability to do. So I say, take that off your plate. It is a lighted spiritual love for you to give yourself to say, okay, I'm ready to move back home. And so the universe will put that into motion and move you back home. And the death day is a space where you say, okay, this is the age or this is the time in my life that I'm choosing to go home, and that was part of my original blueprint. But again, everything is in a soul play. Nothing is hard and concrete. It is for our beautiful journey and our free will to make those decisions and manifest differently. Does that feel light and right to you, Deborah, in that explanation?
Yes, yes. And then my thinking is, are you saying that the final date, death date, could, because we have free will, and I know I kind of touched upon this in one of the earlier segments, but is it where there's some flexibility there because we have free will and because spirit is spirit, and nothing's cast in stone? Can that be moved? Can that be changed?
Of course, but I want to, because what it feels like, Deborah, and many listeners are going to feel the same. That is very much an ego question, right? Because in your thoughts, you're probably thinking of loved ones. Like, why would they leave? Like, why would they leave me? And that is a beautiful piece of our journey, but it's not a soul's journey. It is the human journey's eyes that would see it that way. A spirit's journey doesn't see it that way. It sees, it sees A to B with no hurdles. It doesn't see sadness and grief and leaving. It doesn't see it in that way. So I just ask just to kind of balance that cadence of thought, right? Like, well, why wouldn't my loved one stay a little longer? Or, well, if I don't have to go, do I have to go? But that's usually driven by maybe a fear or nervousness or, not wanting to leave loved ones. But that is a human journey, and that is not the soul's journey. The soul's journey has none of those emotions.
Right. I get that.
But yes,
but I have to say,
free will.
What you feel, as we age, we start thinking of our mortality, and when we feel we have so much more work to do, then you start to think, okay, well, how much time do I have left?
Yeah,
and that's where you're going from. That's
right. And I would say. Yeah, and I'll always say, too, when you really have those very introspective questions, where you're really trying to toggle, am I in my soul's journey, am I in my human journey with this question? I always say, clear the earth's chatter, and really name your verb. Where do you feel an emotion right now? Are you feeling like, a nervousness or an apprehension? Then you're in your human journey. Are you feeling peace? Are you feeling truth? Then you're in your soul's journey. And it's a great little toggle to just say, okay, I own my human journey. I'm there 99% of the time. And so I'll honor that. But there's not that carryover of knowing what the Spirit has chosen, generally, right? These are very general cookie cutter answers. But certainly that is our human journey, and that is as we look into the twilight, we know the energy is finite on the Earth's plane. We can't live forever, so that makes that feels very much like the human journey, and I can nod in on that with you as well, Deborah. Yes. I understand that.
Thank you. I want to take a moment and just let Bob know we're going to go through the first break as we seem to be doing. So we'll do the second break. And then I wanted to put the number out because this is a live show. If anyone wants to call in, Bob is in the house. And our number is 833-220-1200. One of the things I find fascinating, and maybe you do as well, I find it fascinating that many people, when I think of our clan, our group of family members, choose to leave when it's around someone's birthday or their own.
That's very interesting. I've never been asked that question specifically. Really? And what I'll follow up with that is that if that is how your clan, your tribe, your soul group, maybe your loved one connection, that might be part and parcel of what the Spirit chooses in light, love, and comfort, right? To leave at a time that is maybe, I don't know, maybe expected, or that is part of maybe the soul's design to pass on. It is, and if you resonate with that, I would say if you resonate with that, tap into that, because that might be the truth of your tribe or your soul group, or what speaks to you in your space. So I would say if it swings around and you're curious, there's something to it. Investigate. Ask. Ask.
Yeah, when it happens plenty of times within this lifetime with our soul group, family, tribe, it's not really something you have to ask. From my perspective, I'm thinking, okay, this is the way it happens because that's how everybody's going. So
well, and if that's something that feels like you say, I don't have to ask, I already know. Then that's something that holds you and your soul groups together. That gives you comfort in the time of passing, and that might be part of the design.
Yeah, who knows?
That's really beautiful. I've never been. I'm going to put that in my spiritual pocket. I've never been asked that before, so I love new experiences. So I'm going to take that with me.
All right, that's good. Okay.
Well, on that topic, you know what? It's swung around 3 times. So when something swings around 3 times, I will tell you too. My dad's passing just happened. He passed on June 28th, and I know we have some June conversations. And on June 28th, it's also my daughter-in-law's birthday. And on that day, a few days ago, I was sitting I was just sitting around, and I just my husband and I just started talking about our dog together. His name was Buddy. And I'm like, geez, when did Buddy pass? And I went back to look at his book, and he also passed on June 28th. And so I got a nudge from my pet. And so it's interesting that that feels pretty significant to me, because my dad loved my Buddy as well. I said, boy, Dad, you really gave my daughter-in-law a trial by fire entering the family, and her birthday's your passing day. So so I sit with you. That doesn't feel sad to me. It feels comfortable to me that they all kind of chose that day.
Exactly. And it is comforting, I think, to know, surely there's plenty of questions many people can ask, well, why? But I find it comforting because it's all like within our little tribe.
Right.
It's all
right.
connected.
And that might be your way of finding the gratitude instead of the sorrow as well, or the grief. Like this is
But
it might be your way.
Yeah, I have to say, I can say that about the sorrow now because it's been decades. But the first 20 years, I was still in the sorrow. So it took me a very long time. But anyway, moving along, one of the things I'd like to talk about is in this returning home, because it can be prevalent on the earth, is suicide. And there's no judgment there. There's no judgment. The soul doesn't suffer. It's a liberation you talk about. So speak to that. And I have to say, and this is where my mind goes, Cheryl.
I love it.
And I know I'm speaking from the human and not my spirit. But there was a time when everything happened where I considered seriously about suicide. And yet I did not do that because I had 3 girls. And I think, those were maybe checkpoints for me to, I mean, how does that work together? But in a situation like that, where you no longer want to stay on the earth because of the loss being so profound, is that a checkpoint? And you're like, okay, I could go down that road. And you think about it for a year or so, but then you decide, well, no, I'm not going to do that. That's again such a huge topic of conversation. But I'll explain it the way it's kind of like being sent to me to kind of explain it. And so suicide is taking one's life outside of your blueprint, outside of your choices, outside of your checkpoints and or your death dates. It is, if you can, I always try to make it foundational and understandable by using human words, because I think that's what we understand more. But again, lean into the spiritual aspect of my human words. I always encourage that. So when we do choose that word suicide and taking one's life, it really is a human choice. It is a human choice because it's outside of the lighted free will. There's no judgment. It is certainly one of pain. It is one of needing to go home for respite, for guidance, for counsel, and for that reason, it is beautifully held. We are not punished on the other side. And in many of my readings, I see people that have taken their lives, and they are beautiful and happy on the other side. And they come down and speak to that loved one, my responsibility, mine. But what is difficult for us that are left behind is that was not part of the soul's journey. And our spirits know that. And so what they've done and not, they're in their own pain. So always know that. They have kind of upset my balance of my spiritual ecosystem of sorts, because that was not part of the journey. So they have issued a free will ripple tidal wave that can really knock us for a loop, because that was never part of the journey we were supposed to have in A, B, and C. But with that being said, and coming back to you and your pain, Deborah, and your the love that you had, is our guides, our loved ones, our angels, they come in multitudes and help us so deeply when we're in that pit of sadness and despair. And despair is really the verb I use when we're getting to that place of profoundness.
and your husband, and coming to you, and almost helping you to realize that would not, that to stay with the girls, to give you that love, to keep talking that self-love until that space maybe doesn't heal, but it becomes more tangible for you. Our loved ones come and just in multitude help us, because it is not part of our journey ever, but certainly that is a place that we can go to when we can't seem to get out of that deep dark hole. But when you ask about checkpoints, I have made some really spiritual gains on this aspect, and I don't have answers. Every story is different. Every situation is a separate piece. But sometimes I see that when we view it as taking one's life, it sometimes is a checkpoint. For instance, overindulging in drugs, or that sort of thing, if that be the case. And when you're not in the right frame of mind mentally, and you move to the other side, that sometimes is a checkpoint. Even though the human eyes don't see it as a checkpoint. They see it as they took their life in this way. They went too deep in A, B, or C, and they left their life. Those are the ones I see sometimes are checkpoints, and they come through in readings of sort. I had a reading not too long ago that a woman was in a very desperate emotional state, unstable, and did try a few times to take her life. And she's one of age. She wasn't a child. But ultimately, she was saved. People were around her that corrected that action, and that she ended up passing in a way of an accident at the house, and she passed that way. But it was a loving checkpoint, because she was suffering emotionally. She was suffering with mental illness as well, and in a dark hole that is sometimes hard to move out of. But her soul hung on and chose a checkpoint to move back home. So those are just a few examples of, because the checkpoints are valid as well. But sometimes
that makes sense. It all makes sense to me, and I just think of, now you think of so many people living with the grief and the pain and the guilt and all that one of their parents or their sister, I mean, I know so many where they have taken the route of suicide, and now there's so much question for the people remaining. And with that said, we're going to take a break, think about what I just said, and we can come back with that, if that makes sense. And everyone, go to Cheryl's site. It's CherylBradley.com. Cheryl is with a C, Cheryl. Bradley has an E, BRADLEY.com. Her book is there. Her book is everywhere that you usually purchase books. There, A Spirit Journey is. And she has a special offer for you as well. So we'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times best-selling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back. We are talking about returning home, the soul sacred transition, with teacher, spirit medium Cheryl Bradley. And we were talking about suicide, and another thought came to me as well. I have so many of them, Cheryl.
I love it. I love it. That's a curiosity of home. That is the fuel to find your answers. Beautiful. That's right. And so many people that have loved ones that have transitioned because of suicide feel as though that person, and it's even out there where people talk about that people that choose suicide go to hell, or they go somewhere else. And it's a thought or a belief system, should I say, that's put into many people so that it's the accepted answer. Oh, they're not going to go to the light. They're not going to go to God. They're going to go to hell. Can you speak to that, please? Yes, and that makes me so sad. Yeah, that makes me so sad because that is not my spiritual experience. So let me just talk to that a little bit, and I'll talk to that hell word too. A lot of those belief systems and those judgments are held in certain religions, where there's consequences for actions. And I have to say, in spirituality, it does not exist. Before we even touch upon the other parts, spiritualism, the beautiful light that we all come from, has no judgment, no time, no have-tos, no time on the other side. It is no right or wrong on the other side. Even when we do choose to take our own life in the human way, and remove myself from any checkpoint pieces, in the human way, the light sucks you beautifully in always. You are not held in a holding place. You are not foregone. You are not thrown in a corner. You are loved. You are embraced. And in that kind of a situation where you are very human when you make that decision, you are held. It's called I call the word cocooning. We are held in the light with such a. It's almost like when we're an infant and we're swaddled. We're swaddled with love. We're swaddled. We're swaddled with comfort. And anytime I see, even when I've seen someone that's taken their life and it's been a very short amount of time, they are beautiful on the other side. They are not sad. They are not sorry for what they did. Remember, that's our human journey. They take full responsibility. They take full responsibility. And very often in the readings, they say, you couldn't have done anything. There's no woulda, coulda, shouldas. Let me help you in your journey because I see the devastation I've given you. And as you say, Deborah, our human journey and our society and religions, they make it almost an embarrassment. They make it almost harder for the loved ones to move on because they can't use their words or they hide it. And that makes me very sad. And in terms of hell, there is no hell. That is another rule of religions and damnation and all that. There is a very dark place, but there's no fire and brimstone. There's no devil. There's no any of that. And maybe we could talk about that another day. But if you go there, it is a choice. You can choose the light no matter what horrific human choices that you made as a human. You go to the light anytime that you choose it. But you can also choose not to go to the light. And that's where the darkness, I call it an abyss. I coin it as a left door. And that is the left door. And that is a spiritual choice. That is not a punishment. You are not told to go there. It is your free will to go there. And there's many different reasons why spirits choose that. And we're not even talking about entities that choose to stay on this earth's plane. We call them ghosts, earthbound. That's a whole other conversation as well. But just know that your free will chooses all. All. And even if you choose to stay on this on the earth's surface, or you choose the left door, your spirit guides, your loved ones, your angels are always coming to you and offering the light should you choose to change your mind, per se. You are not ever left in a limbo land. It doesn't exist. Light and love is all that is part of the spiritual realm. And so when you talk about someone that's taken their life, and I see them, they take full responsibility, but they are so happy, and they are so out of pain, and they are mixing in with their loved ones and doing activities. They're no different than someone that's chose to go to the other side on a checkpoint. There's no difference. They are in beautiful bliss, but they understand the pain that they cause us because they see with clarity, not with emotional pain that they had, that they succumbed to on this earth's journey. They are free of all that. But they do see with clarity the pain that they've put their loved ones through. But they don't feel the pain. And I think that's important to say. I hear this so often, like, I don't want them to suffer, and think that, I say they won't. They don't. It doesn't exist on the other side. We don't feel, when we're on the other side, we don't feel pity or grief for us. We just feel love in their journey. So don't ever feel like how you feel is you're projecting to them. It doesn't exist. And take that in light, love, and comfort. It is your journey. It is your way of having to deal and find your space. But they don't carry any of that. And let that lighten the walk for you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for talking about that and explaining, because it all resonates with me personally. I've never felt that when someone decided to take their own life that it was a punishment type of thing, or they were bad, or they were going to get it on the other side, or whatever. It just doesn't make sense that would happen. I love that you said swaddled, because if anything, a child, or in this situation of taking our own life, you would expect it to be swaddling. You would expect it to be so full of light and love, because that's really what the person in the human side needed the most. Now they know on the other side, in the light, that there it is. There it is all the time. It was right there. And but the people that are left on the human side, what you're sharing really is soothing for them because of society and the way that many people tend to believe it's not that way. It's not that way. So
the one thing I would like to add to that as well, and this isn't a loose scenario, spiritual scenario, that if someone did take their life in that humanness and not a checkpoint in any way, when we move to the other side, we also know in our spirits that we did not complete the mission or the blueprint or the journey that we intended. And so if we choose to come back in, and that is our choice, we must kind of set back a parallel lifetime of what we left, kind of come back to that piece that we needed to correct or needed to a little bit more experience on. So I will just say that aspect too is because we want to. It's not like we're told to. It's not like we have to. It's that we want to come back and soothe that karmic disruption that we encountered, and we set ourselves up for full celebration, right? We make sure that we set ourselves up with maybe parents that will help us on this journey, or siblings. We set ourselves up for triumph, never for failure, and certainly our loved ones and our guides, and they come in abundance to help us. So I just wanted to just follow up with that we want to do that.
Yes, and that's good to know. Well, we have come to the end of our show, everyone. And Cheryl, we could go on. Two of us.
I would love that.
Everyone, it's Wednesday, July 1st, which is actually tomorrow night for us right here live, same time, 6 p.m. I had other questions, the things that I'd like to hear from you, the life review many of us have heard about, the compassion, but what they're doing over there. I'd like to hear that, so maybe we can open up with that tomorrow night and then go on 5, which is reflections and prompts, applying the wisdom of the Spirit's journey. So, Cheryl, thank you so very much. Everyone out there, buy a bunch of these books and just give them out, gifts, whatever. This will help you. It will help anyone. And you don't have to be further into your journey. You could not even be awakened, and it will help because all of us have questions. All of us have questions of why we're here, what's our purpose, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. Get the books. Go to Cheryl Bradley, Cheryl with a C, Bradley, BRADLEY.com. I cannot say it enough. Buy a bunch because this book is so important, I believe, in every family. And even younger ones want to talk about some of these things. And I think it's important to open it up instead of hiding it under a rock until you're 35. So think about all that until we come together in love and unity consciousness. Au revoir. I love you, Cheryl.
I love you too.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.